Hi, hello. Welcome back and/or welcome to my YouTube page. I'm Fire Lotus the Witch, and welcome to Lotus Hollow. Today we are going to be discussing discernment and why it is important when it comes to witchcraft. Also, there's going to be a tag either up here or in the description. Another mutual YouTuber also has made a video on this because it's not talked about enough in witchcraft. Okay? So, discernment in witchcraft refers to the ability to judge wisely and accurately, especially when dealing with subtle and almost ambiguous aspects of the magical practice. It involves being able to wisely between the spiritual insight and the mere imagination. That's the key, okay? If what just happened to me, was it in my head, was it imaginal, or is it actual tangible to where this is a divine sign? Also, we're going to touch on bioregalism as well, because that is extremely important. Now, discernment in general, especially as a witch and us developing to be able to discern the difference between this, it also helps us kind of navigate through the spiritual and magical realms because, again, mundane over magical, that's not always the case, but in most cases, you do need to look at it as a mundane approach. What do I mean by this? For an example, so say I'm doing spell work, right? And I have a normal normal emergency candle, right? And I have it in front of me and I'm lighting it, right? But I also have a fan going over here. So if I was one of those witches, which I am, when it comes to my candle magic and spell magic, I like to dictate how the working is going by what the flame looks like, right? But I have a fan going over there, so it's whipping around and it's dancing and everything like that. Say, for an example, I dedicated this candle to a deity. There are some witches who will, depending on how their candles light and how the candles look, they'll discern that as that's communication with their deity, right? But I have a fan going over here, which also means that it's dictating the airflow, right? For an example, I do not have a lighter on me, so. Oh, no, wait, yes, I do. Okay. So. See how it is bobbing and weaving? Well, I have that turned a little way from me, right? So that's discernment. Seeing, okay, well, I have a fan going, which means the airflow is going all over the place versus not having an AC. Obviously, you need to light candles and other things in a ventilated area, but I would not have my fan going right now due to the fact that it would affect the actual flow of the flame. Another example is, imagine I was doing working outside and I have a ceramic or glass plate, right? I have a candle attached to it right here, but it's also winter time and it's extremely cold and rigid, right? And I have this set on concrete. All of a sudden, as the candle burns down to the point where it's almost burned itself out, the plate shatters. Am I going to automatically think, oh my God, my spell was so powerful that it shattered, it exploded the plate itself? Discernment-wise, no, because I'm going to think, oh wait, thermal shock. Because that candle flame heated the plate up at the perfect amount as the wind blew, hit the concrete, which is already cold, and it caused a thermal reaction, thus exploding the plate. Discernment. Now, another example that I would like to use is, at one point in time, I got into making candles from scratch, right? So, by the way, if you did not know this, candle making is legit a fucking science. I did not know this. I thought it was as simple as warming up wax, pouring it, letting it set. No, you have to have the wax, depending on the type of wax itself, you have to have it at a certain temperature before you add the dye and the scent. And then after that, you also have to have a certain temperature as you pouring it because it will all affect the way that it burns. Why is this important? So say I made my own candles, which this actually happened, and I used the wrong wick, and for the life of me, it would not light. It would not stay lit, right? Also, imagine that I put 10 different herbs in here, and instead of grinding them to a powder, full on just herbs, right? And then I light it, the flame's going to be way up here, and it's also going to affect how the candle burns. With everything that you add to that candle, it affects how the candle burns. So say I was doing a protection spell with one of these candles, and I was reading the wax as well, and it started to goop up and just burn down, and it looked like a hot mess. If I automatically thought that was a magical sign, I would be like, oh my God, I'm fucked, I've been hexed, I've been cursed, holy shit, there's no fixing this. discernment wise and trying to find the truth of that, I would look at that and be like, well, wait, I added this, I added this, I added this, I added this. That all affects how the candle actually burns. It's kind of like when you see paranormal investigators walk into this house, or like when you move into a new house for the very first time. You've got to get used to how the natural sounds of that house are. I personally believe that all houses have a spirit, whether it's brand new, whether it's old, whether it's a trailer or apartment, it can all have a spirit. So if I move into this new house and I start hearing random shit at night, most people would automatically be like, oh my God, there's a ghost in the house, right? Versus, okay, well, it's a 100-year-old house, so it's got to settle a little bit, you know? That's the discernment. Trying to find your truth in it without necessarily going into it blindly, thinking that every single magical thing around us has this divine ultimate sign. If you go into witchcraft or spirituality thinking that, you are going to find the very slippery slope of losing touch with reality and slipping into somewhat of a spiritual psychosis. Now, I don't really talk about psychoses due to the fact that I'm not a mental expert and or I'm not a medical expert, but it can happen. And another advice to that is typically when the person thinks they're crazy, or when the person... My brain is not braining right now. Hold that thought. I'll be back. I feel like I butchered this video, and if you drink, you could totally do a drinking game to this. Take a shot every single time I say discernment. Look, I'm getting into videos like this, okay? I'm trying my best. We're not all perfect. But discernment is basically finding the truth and what's a lie. And in this day and age with, again, to quote Christopher Penczak, we're in the age of the great blessing and the great curse, which would be the devices, the Black Mirror, and also technology. Because now, at a biblical point in time, we have so much knowledge out there, but not everything is true. And it's kind of the way that I look at religion, which is there are truths in all religions, but no one religion has all of the truths. It's up to us to be able to shift through them and find what's true. Discernment. And I know a lot of people use a lot of terminologies differently, but it's like when you come across a video and they're pulling these cards, right? So there are some readers on TikTok, and I'm assuming on this app as well, where they're intuitively reading. And what they mean by that is they will randomly, typically they are tarot readers and not oracle readers, and they will randomly pull some cards, right? So, Queen of Swords. They're like, oh my God, your lover is coming back to you. Oh my God, like this video and hit claim in the comments for $30,000 to be in your bank account in the morning. The Moon, oh my God, this is it, girl. This is it. This is what you have been, you see what I'm saying? Intuitively, and an intuitive reader is not somebody who randomly just assigns different meanings to cards. An intuitive reader is a person who can take the initial meaning of this card, which could have up to 100 different meanings, and being able to intuitively apply that directly to your life, right? And a lot of people fall into it. They fall into, yes, everybody can be spiritual, and yes, everybody can be a witch and activate your psychic abilities, but it takes work. Especially discernment coming from a medium myself. I'm a channeling medium. I've been a channeling medium my entire life, but it took me 31 years to finally walk into that path. And through that, when I'm doing my readings, I had to get through that point where I learned that not everything that comes through is a divine meaning. Not everything that comes through is from spirit. That's one of the reasons, another way that I've worked it is if you come to me to get a reading, I do what I call blind reads. Blind reads, and the reason I do them is because if you sit down and send me an email of 3-page paragraphs of everything that is currently going on in your life right now, and then I do your reading, there's a moment in time, because we are human, right? We're spiritual beings having a humanistic experience, and sometimes we think we know what's best, right? And I have a bunch of trauma. So what if I get to a point and I recall what you just told me that's currently going on in your life, and I'm like, oh wait, no, I can give better advice than spirit right now. See what I'm saying? It makes the reading biased. So the way that I get around that is just blind reads. You can have specific questions. They may not get answered. But other than that, besides your name, and the reason I need your name is because when I hold my cards right before I hit record, I will say, hey, so-and-so spirit team, please step forward if you would like to communicate and come through. That way I'm directly calling upon their spirit team, and then I hit record. I become the conduit. or a very intuitive reading. It depends on if your spirit team comes through, and then voila. But being a medium, we can't go into it, and even being a witch, going into something thinking that you know everything and everything that comes out of your mouth is divine or spiritual message. It's not. So going into it, I had to learn discernment of, okay, what's spirit, what is coming from spirit, and then what is just coming from me. That's the best way that I can describe that. You also need to apply that when it comes to finding a teacher and a mentor. I've said this before. Unfortunately, not everybody in the spiritual and witchy world is there for you. There are some people, I don't have a reason why, and I don't understand it, but they will see all the potential that you have and they will squander it and squash it. They'll insert doubt. It makes you doubt everything you're doing. And with this as well, I'm not saying take magic away from it, because you use that term mundane before magical a lot. And I'm not saying use it to the point where there's no magic at all. But at the same time, and another example of this is if you can recreate it, it's probably not spiritual and it's probably not magic. What do I mean by this? Again, we go back to the paranormal thing. If you can go into something and you step in one spot of that floor and it creates this creaking sound or this weird sound, if your door randomly falls open, like our bathroom door, it's semi-broke, so there are moments where it will naturally open on itself. And yes, that has happened in moments and times where me and my partner is talking about something, or we're addressing some new spirit here because I live in a spiritual bathhouse, and then all of a sudden, poof, it opens. Most of the time, in my understanding, and I've been in the witchy spiritual world for 21 years, not a flex at all, I'm still learning every day. When you get a divine message or a divine sign or a magical aspect, you will sense it on multiple levels of your body. Okay, that's like when during my readings, there are moments where I say, holy shit, spirit's coming through and I'm speaking spiritual truth. Typically when that happens, out of nowhere, this entire side of my body goes goosebumps and all my hair stands up. That is my sign and spirit's way of saying, hey, you were speaking exactly what I'm trying to say. That also happens. Not always, obviously, but try to ask yourself, okay, was that a divine sign? Now, the reason I mentioned bioregalism, and then I'll kind of cut this video, I don't want it to be too long. Bioregalism is the study and the observance of the specific bioregion that you are living in. So not only your county, but your town and your city, right? And the reason this is important is, so say here on the property, say I ask for a divine sign for message, right? I want a definitive answer to come through and verify something, right? And I walk outside and all of a sudden there are 2 blue jays sitting on my front porch staring at me. A normal person would be like, oh my God, that's a divine sign. But with bioregalism, due to the fact that I feed outside cats, the birds, specifically blue jays, have learned, oh shit, there's a bunch of food laying around. Let's go eat. So in the morning times, for the good first 3 or 4 hours after the cats eat, I have blue jays and woodpeckers flying up on the porch, just chilling out, eating. I know that's not probably good for them, but hey, nature, right? And then there's another aspect where I feed crows. My local flock of crows, murder of crows, I feed them regularly, which means they will land on my neighbor's fence right there where I feed them at, and they show up about 2 to 3 times a day. First thing in the morning, middle of the afternoon, and then right before it gets too dark, to see if there's food there, which means if I ask for a divine sign and it pops up, I feed my crows, right? Now, if I were to say that and then I walk outside, even though I live in front of a lake and there's a bald eagle that lands on my property, that is not normal. Yes, we have bald eagles, but I don't see them very often. There was another moment in time where we had our AC cut off because it was cold as shit. And for the very first time, we were talking and it creeped me out because I was reading from the Bible, like full on giving it my all. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, all we heard was this owl hoot like 3 or 4 times. And it sounded like it literally reverberated through the AC unit. And to us, that was a divine sign. Yes, we have owls around us, but we never hear them and it's never that close. Plus, I work with a kati who is also associated with owls. So there's a lot of things going into it that, yes, you can find magic around you, but if you know you have a tree on your property where blue jays nest, and then you ask for a divine sign and walk out and see one, it's not. It's normal because they live there. Now, yes, another thing that I wanted to discuss on this is Hecate. So if you are on TikTok at any point in time, you will see that there are specific deities that are just blown up everywhere, right? And it confuses a lot of people. And for a seedling, it gives them an unspoken amount of pressure when they interact with one video. And typically, and I even have the necklace, there's a jewelry company that makes sterling silver necklaces when it comes to gods and goddesses. You got Lilith and Hecate. Hecate is one of them. And if you request for a free sample, you have to make a video, and they use that as advertisement. So there are moments where you can log into TikTok and all of a sudden you interact with this one video, and next thing you knowing, you're seeing Hecate video after Hecate after Hecate after Hecate, right? And a lot of people are like, oh my god, she's reaching out to me. Maybe. Discernment. Because again, you're using an algorithm to where the more you interact with the video, the more it's going to custom feed you those videos. Yes, gods and goddesses and deities and other beings can use technology to be able to get messages to us. But again, that's where discernment goes in at, of saying, hey, for one, do you even want to work with Hecate? For two, does she want to work with you? And unfortunately, that answer is not always yes. Not every god or goddess wants to work with you. Again, that's where discernment comes through at. Okay? I hope I hope this is a good video. I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone to make a specific video, but there's going to be a couple ones that have been requested that I would like to make. So I hope this answers your question. Let me know in the comments if it does. And if you have a better definition and or another way of saying what I've been saying in this video, let me know in the comments, all right? Thank y'all so much. And if you will, check out the, there should be another profile, another YouTuber linked in the description of this video. Please go follow them and check their video out on discernment as well. How to use discernment in your everyday magical life. As always, thank you so much. Let me know what is the last movie you watched. What's the #1 streaming service or TV show you're watching right now? How's your D&D character? And what's the last book you wrote? Not wrote, read, or fuck, wrote. Let me know in the comments.